Good evening. Tonight, I'm here in the light, drinking some kombucha. It tastes just right. All right. Enough with that. Enough rhyming. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to nobody. Who is listening? I look at the camera like, I'm just here, Len. Nope, that's not it. Hopefully by the end of this, I'll play this once at least, and I'll also think of something to say that might be interesting to you, because frankly, I think I have a really interesting perspective as the thoughts come in and out of my head. I sit back from them and I'm like, what the fuck, man? You are something else. So, nope, that's not it. Where are we all going? You know? Consider, what if fucking people, what if the culture we lived in like school, family, friends, authoritative figures. In the ideal world, there are no authoritative figures, they're just mentors. But this isn't the ideal world, this is prison planet Earth, or school or whatever, I'm not really sure. But what if we knew exactly how consciousness was formulated and from whence it came, right? Because right now, the scientific idea is that consciousness is secreted from the brain the same way liver secretes bile. We don't really know how it does that, but it does it. And it's just a chemical byproduct is what it's saying. But obviously, us people who use our brains, right? And we're aware and we're awake and we're not fooled by these fucking illusion weavers. We see that consciousness it's culminating. We're all growing. Everything's moving up. Generally, it's like in the spring, all your plants are bright, they're vibrant, they're alive. Somebody wrote a thing on the piano. It was Vivaldi, The Four Seasons, and it captures the essence of the springtime. Right? And then it captures the melancholy of the winter and the fall. And you got to look at all that and see that there's this system that the sun is moving on, which is a soul, right? It's just lacking you. The sun is moving on this loop around and around, just like we have this orbit, this circuit. We're running on a circuit. We're on the loop, like we're on the earth going around the sun, okay? Or something along those lines. But consciousness doesn't just loop, does it? It seems to go in circles sometimes, especially when you take a hit of that psilocybin. You're like, whoa, man. And you get caught in those loops, which I kind of talk about a lot. Maybe I should stop talking about that. Get some new material. Think something new, Nick. Our consciousness is culminating. It's growing. It's going in a direction, and our physical systems follow that. Like, we want to learn. I want to learn how to play this song on the piano so I can impress girls and stuff. But my fingers don't work. But we want to, have sex. We want to do lines of cocaine. We want to go out and party. We want to, integrate with each other. We want to have experiences. We want to have a good time. That's only because what's within us, our consciousness, the mystical aspect, mystical considering the Western material version of the world, we've got this aspect inside of us that's constantly driving us, pushing us to become something better. So when that translates into the physical, it creates what they would call heaven on earth. Okay? So let me rest on that for 1 second. Nope, alright. They call it heaven on earth. And that's when everything is in a perpetual state of bliss. It's not just balance, but it's neutrality. It is balance, okay? But people see balance like you can't just, how am I going to put this? People think you always got to be in the positive, but that's not true. I mean, if you're up in the positive all the time, you can be putting off this signal with your spirit that says like, I'm just high energy, I'm high vibration, I don't want to be in this body almost because I feel like I've got to be so many places at once. And people, when they're going through that Kundalini experience, they feel that. They're hyper aware, they're hyper sentient, their vibration is their internal vibration, their mental vibration, which I've talked about, I believe, a couple videos ago about time and how it works mentally versus the fundamental physical matter reality time. That just starts, they start their loop that they're on, it starts to speed up and it like starts to speed up. They start to balance out because people are like a top, they're on a wobble, you know, people got to get in the flow. That's when they're like, you see these hula hoopers and they're just like doing it, you know, or these people on the piano, not me, of course. Nope, not me, definitely not me. These people in the hula hoops, they get in that flow, it's because they're in the middle of this toroidal energy field, which is perpetuating all their energy and all their motion. And you see they just kind of like hit it back and forth like that. You know what I'm talking about, okay? What do you think fornication is, man? It's two toroidal fields coming together, gyrating, becoming one, nesting within the other. So when everything is culminating, your body's doing the same shit. There is a version of the world that is heaven on earth. And in that version of the world, there is an apex being, an apex creature. Obviously, that is man, okay? Okay, we're the apex creatures. Now, notice I'm not saying apex predators, because if you're a predator, you're fucking weird, all right? We can get in such a heightened state of sensitivity, of in-tuneness. Like they say there would be monks back in the day that would pick up a leaf and eat it. They'd be like fasting or detoxing or something. They'd eat it. They could feel the nutrients go into their system and say it's, I honestly I'm not very smart on my Ayurveda. But they could feel the leaf, the antibodies, the probiotics, whatever's in there, go and move into the organ that they were trying to heal or balance out. So this is something that we could do, we should be able to be taught in school. Like, we should be brought up in school in full awareness of what consciousness it is and how it's animating the flesh. So that when we feel a little queasy or we feel that pang in our side, or, you know, you got that crick in your wrist or your mouth, you know, your saliva tastes a little weird. You wake up in the morning and your tongue, it's like white. Like, what is that? What is all that? All this shit happens to us. Like, but we don't know how our body, what it feels like to be human. Nobody has told us that, you know, you're not really supposed to be depressed all the time. You're not really supposed to get bored. You know, you've got this fucking fire inside of us that it just keeps burning and burning. And if we understood it, we could take care of our bodies like so much better. So much better. Sound like Donald Trump. We could take care of our bodies better than we've ever taken care of them before. We're going to have the best bodies. It's going to be the best earth. All right? I betcha. That's my Donald Trump impression. That's kombucha. This is for release. And it's not for release. You can't have it. So let's take what I've just said about being in tune with the body and apply it to a spiritual growth and spiritual awareness. Because, what is the highest spiritual epitome? What is the epitome of spirituality? What is the apex? How much can we really know in terms of where we come from? Well, it's simple. All is self. Everything is a reflection of our own perspective, of our own consciousness, of our own awareness. Our consciousness is attached. Our consciousness is a reflection of what was here before nothing was here. And in that process of nothing becoming something, it had to, make part of itself unaware of the other parts of itself. And it did that. That manifests in our world through what we would call emotion, fear, and love. That manifests in our world as a duality. And we exist in this duality. It is hard to get out of. It's hard to recognize that you're in. And we're in this duality physically, spiritually, and that's everything right there. Whatever else you could name. Anything in between that is exactly that. We're in a duality and you're poles. And in the spiritual life, God, what we should strive to be, we know is love. The answer is love. You have to be a more compassionate person. We're here to learn. We're here for other people, to give them our services, to share with them our uniqueness, which the only way we can have a good outcome, a good product of any sort of encounter is if it's done with love. Anything short of love, it just doesn't make sense, because love produces contentedness, it produces security, it produces harmony, it produces balance and wealth and abundance, all right? Hate could also produce abundance or fear or whatever, but you see what I'm saying. So in our spiritual lives, we strive to be more loving. We strive to be more compassionate, to become love, and to grow. So taking what I'm saying about our ability to be in tune with our physical body, we can be in tune with our mental state too. This is meditation. Maybe this is what music is. I'm going to keep going. Let me try one more. I messed up, but I'm going to keep going. That's what I need to do next time. Let's look at our own mental soup, this neurotic, apparently unintelligible mystery that's between our ears and behind our eyes, and the reason for everything, the brain. The brain is an interesting thing because we're mapping out and we don't really know how it works or how it interacts. We just know that a lot of systems sort of govern other systems, and they kind of work with each other in an interdependent relationship, and nothing really controls another. So that's an interesting thing in the brain. And what they've found is that the brain basically is grown in 3 layers. You've got your primal state, which is responsible for the autonomic function. This is the R complex, or the reptilian core. Then there's the emotional brain, and then there's the cortex, which is the outer layer, which is the philosophical thinking. It's the cognitive functioning. It's all the high mathematical processes and Shakespeare sonnets and all that bullshit that gets, makes us sit here and wonder why. When we're getting pissed off at people, or we're getting discompassionate with them, or detached, or spiteful, or angry, or any kind of negative emotion, then that's not love. We are love. We are consciousness. Consciousness is not those things. Consciousness is love. Consciousness strives to be love. The brain, the material, the physical, that is really the basis of all fear. The number one thing people fear is death. That's because they live in the body and they think they're the body, and they have this illusion that the body is going to die, so they're going to die, so they're scared. And that's just how it is. There's this innate fear in everybody that's alive. Until they figure out what consciousness is and they learn how to die daily, then they're always going to be in fear. Or they could just become mindful and move out of fear. Though I think that seeing the other side is a part of becoming mindful, is one step in the solution. One step in the solution. So, you're pissed off, man, that's not you. That's a part of your brain that's like pulling you down and making you want to be pissed off. If we can be aware of our mental faculties and aware of what we think and aware of just our mentation, our state, our consciousness in general, then we will see that we can say, stop it, neocortex, stop overanalyzing that. I see what you're doing. You got to be observant of your mood. This is how we can change our neurology. There's a great paper somewhere on a .gov website that talks about how our intention is linked with quantum reality and quantum mechanics and can affect the genesis of new neurons in our brains. Okay? So once you get to there and you see that, okay, I'm being victim to myself. I, conscious Nick, is victim to I, material Nick, which is something lower and lesser. It's not exactly what I want to be, because I'm still doing things that I don't like. You see, I've got this version in my head of myself and my consciousness of this apex character, and I want to manifest this apex character. And what do you do once you realize that mental state you're in, where you see that anything that you could think negative, you could be upset about or argue with, when you're thinking that, you're destroying the greatest thing we have. That's ourself. We're straight up destroying it. When you stop destroying, when you realize destruction is in your prerogative, is in your main directive, creation is the main directive. Like I said, neurogenesis is a self-induced process. So is neurological destruction. Creation is our purpose. To know ourself physically is one, but to know our consciousness is something far different. And that's the challenge that we're all faced today. And in doing so, you find yourself doing weird shit, like talking to yourself at 3 a.m. and playing a piano that, I'm not even good at piano, but I still try. I'm gonna keep going. I'm still gonna keep going. I suck, I told you. I don't suck. But the better piano player in me is lost and he can't get out. Anyways, I made this one on my phone. I hope that's okay. I know the thing, I probably should have turned it sideways, but I'm just out here talking shit, rambling, as always, you know. Catch me on the flippity flop. Till next time, at the Truth Observatory. Oh, I didn't click the off button. How hilarious.